Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In just 3 days, the Obamacare exchanges are set to go live. The security of millions of Americans' most sensitive personal information remains at risk. And for the purposes of enrolling people in the exchanges, the administration is building the largest network of America's personal information ever created, called the Federal Services Data Hub. This data hub will have the names, birth dates, Social Security numbers, taxpayer status, gender, email addresses, telephone numbers of millions of Americans expected to apply for the coverage in the exchanges. This poses an alarming and obvious risk of identity theft and cybersecurity attacks. To date, there has been no independent certification that the information will be kept safe. We are simply supposed to rely on this administration's word that reliable security systems will be in place come October the 1st. This is the same administration that has already failed to meet half of their self-imposed deadlines for the implementations of this disastrous law. Their word is simply not good enough. And this is why 13 states attorneys generals, have sent a letter to the HHS Secretary Kathleen Sebelius expressing their concerns over whether there is adequate safety measures to protect their constituents' personal data. Making this situation even worse is the Obamacare navigators that are tasked with assessing this information to help people enroll. Now, these navigators are not required by federal government to have background checks or even have a high school diploma, and yet they will be tasked with handling America's most sensitive personal information, such as their medical records and even their tax returns. In fact, earlier this month, a navigator applicant in Minnesota recently received 2,400 Social Security numbers by mistake. This raises serious concerns about the lack of safeguards in place to protect our personal information. Mr. Speaker, we know that Obamacare is simply not ready for prime time, and we cannot allow America's most personal information to be exposed to these threats. It is completely irresponsible for this president to be encouraging people to sign up when these threats exist. The president has already delayed portions of this law to help big business and insurance companies. It is time for him to work with this Congress to stop this train wreck and to shield the American public from widespread fraud and abuse. Thank you, and I yield.